Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, a podcast with one host about one console, Xbox. I'm said host Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of February 6, 2025, including one of Xbox's most coveted franchises has officially been announced for PlayStation 5. The next Battlefield game has been revealed. Two famous and former PlayStation executives give their perspective on the industry shift brought forward by Xbox's multiplatform initiative. All that and more. Sam Frito writes in and says, on this day in current Xbox history, I rekindled my love of Burnout Revenge, which is still playable on modern hardware. This game is holy shit incredible, and soundtrack is great. EA, where the fuck are our Burnout games? Great show, you snazzy bastoid. Thanks, keep the Marvel in my forebrain so I don't have to think about the government. Well, Sam Frito, it's, Burnout Revenge is the good Burnout. That's Burnout 3, right? Yeah, Burnout 3, that's the one everyone loves the most. Burnout 3 Revenge, right? Yes, on OG Xbox. That's not the day in history this game was released, but hey, that's okay. That's okay. Sam Frito, welcome. Welcome everyone to the Xbox On podcast. Burnout Revenge, good game. Great soundtrack. That was back when video games had really good soundtracks. I swear to God. I listen, I understand I'm just out of touch. It's like, this is, I like the music from my era, but it's just, you can't, I don't know, it's just different. It's not because music was better, then I'm not going to go on that boomer rant. I don't think music now is worse than it was then, whatever. Like whatever music you want. But it was just, the discoverability and the popularity of music was just like, I don't know, the way we consumed music was just differently. Like back then, there was only so much music you could have access to. It was like, okay, what do I hear on the radio? What do I hear at like restaurants? What do I hear when I go to like the movie theater? But nowadays it's like, music's so crazy. You got people whose like entire music tastes are entirely based upon like unknown artists from SoundCloud versus like the popular artists on the radio, which has just all been narrowed down to pop, because all country artists are pop stars and all pop stars are pop stars and all rock artists are pop stars and all rappers or hip hop artists are all pop stars, because we just have one and only one genre on the radio still. And so it's just weird because everything's mashed and morphed and fused, and in some senses, like in traditional ways, we've been giving less options than ever before, fewer options than ever before, but in terms of the number of avenues and ways you can explore and learn about music, SoundCloud, of course, Spotify, of course, there's just so much discoverability. It just doesn't make sense anymore to me, my tiny brain. But Burnout Revenge reminds me of a simpler time where you could have a video game introduce you to so much good music, and you could just feel like I now have a full spectrum understanding of music because I played SSX3, Burnout Revenge, and Guitar Hero, and now I feel like I am a musically inclined person. And then 2025 hits you in the face like, what the fuck? I didn't know Beyonce was a country artist now. Anyway, guys, welcome to the Xbox On podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. HD Hobbs, for those at home listening, that is high definition Hobbs. That means you're listening to this following comment in a crispy fucking 12K resolution. Says, thanks for all the laughs. Have a nice podcast, Jesse. Sincerely. Well, sincerely to you, Mr. HD Hobbs. Hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you for writing in. Thank you all for being here today. I'm excited to get into it. I really thought today was going to be a slow news week because, kind of removed from the Xbox showcase. It's early February. There's really not much happening. We're a month through the year already, but it's the calm before the storm. Avowed's about to hit, but nope. We got a decent amount of stuff to get through today. So without further ado, let's just get into it because God knows it's already late and Daddy's got work tomorrow. All right, corrections, updates, guys. Capcom's Spotlight showcase earlier this week has officially wrapped up, and well, there's an update on Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. The big news is that it's available now digitally only, but for the Xbox One, and obviously you can play it on Series S and X consoles. But once again, this collection is now available for Xbox. It includes the following games: X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of the Superheroes, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and The Punisher. In other news, it's also been announced that Capcom Fighting Collection 2 will be arriving on Xbox in May, on May 16th. So finally we're going to get those Marvel Classic Collection Fighting Capcom game, whatever, collections on Xbox. It's good stuff. So, man, when this stuff was happening, when this stuff was announced last year for Nintendo and PlayStation, and it was skipping Xbox, I remember being like, damn, I would actually really want to buy these and check these out. And now that they're hitting it this time, I'm like, I'm in the middle of like 40 other games. I do not have time for this, but maybe one day we'll get around to it, I'm sure. Good news. All right, that's our update of the week. Guys, let's kick off with our mildly amusing stories. These are the appetizers. If it's your first ever episode of Xbox On, you know, like when you go to a restaurant and they're like, welcome to Burger King, can we start you off with a fucking cherry slushy? And you're like, yes, that sounds lovely. And then they ease you into a flame broiled Whopper with cheese with a side of French fries and a nice Diet Dr. Pepper to wash it down, and that's your entree. And then you cap it off with that Hershey's pie that's always got a little freezer burn on it for dessert. This is just like that kind of experience, but right now we're on the Fanta Cherry Freeze Icy. We're not at the cheeseburgers or the freezer burn pie yet, so hold your horses. Let's kick off this week with some mildly amusing stories, also known as Xbox News appetizers. So here we go. Microsoft, and of course, as always, pretty much everything is from VGC because it's the only website my mom hasn't blocked on my computer yet. Microsoft have announced that a new Idea at Xbox showcase. Viewable on IGN.com and through social media platforms, the Indie Games event will be aired on February 24th, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, which is also my nephew's birthday. So if you're thinking about, if you remember on February 24th, just reach out to my nephew and wish him a happy birthday, because he's going to be, God damn it, he's going to be a whole ass year older. He's going to be 21. He's going to be old enough to drink the cherry Fanta Freeze at Burger King, so that's good for him. Studios set to participate in the showcase include 11-Bit, Big Fan, Critical Reflex, Daedalic, Game Source Entertainment, No More Robots, Panic, and PlayStack. Also taking part will be Raw Fury, Thunder Lotus, Cult Games, Team 17, Curve, Acapura, Don't Nod, and Raccoon Logic. I think I know like a total of 3 of those teams. The event promises to deliver new trailers, gameplay reveals, including the next collaboration for Balatro, the popular card game that released last year. So that's something to look forward to if you want like a deep cut indie showcase event. I will definitely not watch that, but if there's anything notable that comes from it, I'll take a look at some screenshots and trailers and see if there are any interesting looking games. But something to note nonetheless. Next up, guys. So the ESA, or the Entertainment Software Association, has expressed concerns about negative impacts from tariffs imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump on goods imported from other countries. The trade body, which represents leading game companies, includes Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, has called for Trump's administration to consult with the sectors of his tariff plans. God, Jesse, slow down. Quote, tariffs on video game devices and related products would impact Americans of all ages in this country, said the ESA in a statement to Kotaku. We urge the administration to consult with the private sector in a transparent process to avoid causing significant harm to everyday Americans and to one of the fastest growing entertainment sectors in the U.S. So there was an update issued by the ESA, shared to VGC about a day or two later, and so this is the update that was provided. They said, video games, this is the ESA speaking, so in a statement from them, video games are one of the most popular and beloved forms of entertainment to Americans of all ages. Tariffs on video games and devices and related products would negatively impact hundreds of millions of Americans and would harm the industry, blah, 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 blah. They just talked about that, basically rewording the last part. We look forward to working with the administration of Congress to find ways to sustain the economic growth supported by our sector. So basically just kind of reiterating what they've already said. I am stupid, and this is not my expertise, so I'm not going to try to get all like I know how to navigate like these kinds of waters. Like, oh yeah, I know all about law and government and tariffs and economics. So let me crack my knuckles and take a whack at this. I'm not going to do that because I'm clearly not cut out for that. The only thing I had to express here is I'm concerned. I'm not concerned. I'm confused because how would these tariffs impact U.S. gaming consumers in any way other than physical games? I guess hardware, because all that shit's made in China, but we're talking about the tariffs, being imposed on Mexico right now. So I just I really don't understand how this really affects the end user in the US, beyond like physical sales, physical games, because all those, cartridges discs and cases and physical packages are all manufactured like in China and shit. So I don't understand beyond that how this could be affecting. And if anything, this could just draw more people towards digital adoption, because you would think that it's like, okay, well then if these tariffs are imposed, maybe they have to raise the price of physical games. Maybe physical games go up to $80 and digital games stay $70, and it becomes this enticing way to continue to push people into wanting to go digital. But I don't know if you want to do that, because then if you're like an Xbox or Sony, you might piss off your retail partners by being like, hey, now you're disincentivizing people to come to our stores to buy your games, which makes us like you less, which means we are less inclined to give you shelf space to sell your consoles and controllers and other peripherals. So I don't really know the song and the dance of how that plays out, but I guess my tiny brain and my limited imagination can't really comprehend how this might affect end users beyond the price of physical games. But then again, you know how it is with economics. Anytime something small happens, everyone has to suffer. Like one time, there was this really bad pandemic that happened, right? And lots of people were getting sick and dying, and it was really sad. It was really unfortunate. And the U.S. government and all of its buddy corporations made the decision that the American people can no longer buy single-family homes, and corporations should not raise the minimum wage or base pays or just living wages for employees at all, because somehow we equated a global pandemic that was killing people with just using it as an excuse to just fuck people a little harder. So, if we can somehow justify, because the American people love blaming working class people and Democrats for some reason for everything that happens, instead of just blaming all politicians, because all politicians and all corporations are to blame. If we can successfully blame the American people and just a certain segment of the politicians for being at fault in allowing basically a airborne, a contagious flu-like disease that spread like wildfire into being the reason why we no longer allow working class Americans to have a half decent life, then I guess it stands to reason that imposing tariffs on Mexico could make Fortnite DLC exponentially more expensive. I'm just guessing that's the logic behind this, but I what the fuck do I know? So I'm not going to speak to it beyond that, but just to introduce it, because obviously this could hypothetically, potentially, I don't know, become like a pretty big deal. But then again, listen, I went to college and studied literature. What the fuck do I know? We talked about our feelings. I went to class every day, and my professor would say, "Who read Harry Potter?" And I would raise my hand, and I'd say, "Professor, I read Harry Potter." And he said, "How would it make you feel to be a wizard?" And I would say, "I would love to run into platform 9 3/4 and accidentally run into the wrong platform. Maybe it was platform 9 4/4. And then I would just hit my head into a brick wall, because if it's not platform 9 3/4, you wouldn't transport to Hogwarts land. You would actually just fucking hit your head on a cement wall, on a brick wall, and probably get concussed. And if you're lucky, rush to the hospital. But then again, this is, it is London we're talking about, so I'm sure it wouldn't be too bad of a situation. But can you imagine if platform 9 3/4 was in the US and that kind of shit happened? You'd say, "Don't call an ambulance. I'll just bleed out. I can't afford this shit." And that's what we learned about in college, because I was a literature major. So I don't know anything that matters. And I waited tables in college. So when I wasn't talking about my feelings and reading books, I was asking people, would you like your steak medium rare? And they'd say, "I'd like medium well." And I'd say, "Well, sir, you can go fuck yourself," because medium well is not a real steak temperature. Let's be honest. All right. Speaking of Need for Speed, let's move on to Electronic Arts. They have confirmed that development of Need for Speed, the video game franchise, Need for Speed developer Criterion Games, are currently fully engaged with work on the Battlefield series, which we're going to get to in a minute. It seemingly means that plans for a new Need for Speed are on hold, although the publisher has said it's planning to return it to the racing series in the future. Back in September 2023, EA said that Criterion had moved divisions with the company to work on the Battlefield franchise, so this isn't new information. But at that time, Respawn co-founder Vince Zampella, who now leads EA Studios responsible for Apex Legends, Star Wars, and Battlefield, said a core group of Criterion would continue to work on what's next for Need for Speed. But, now we're just kind of being told that, hey, all hands on Battlefield for now. So this is from Eurogamer, a statement from Vince Zampella to Eurogamer. that read, "The Need for Speed team at Criterion on joining their colleagues working on Battlefield. As a company, it was important for us to take that last year to listen to our Need for Speed community, and use their feedback to create content for Unbound, which is the most recent game. With an increased understanding of what our players want in a Need for Speed experience, we want to bring the franchise back in new and interesting ways." So I suspect they're going to put this franchise on ice for a few years and then try to come back and bring Need for Speed back to its roots, kind of in a way that they're trying to do something similar with Battlefield right now. So I don't really have much to say on this other than it makes sense from my perspective. It seems like EA is kind of just struggling. Not like, oh, EA is about to go out of business, but it just seems lately, outside of their sports initiatives, they just have really kind of been, I don't know, like getting like middling to underwhelming results with some of their core long-standing legacy franchises. And I appreciate this kind of, let's take a step back, reassess, and figure out what we got to do from here, because they're clearly doing that with Battlefield. They're basically saying that's what they're doing here with Need for Speed, and we kind of know that that's where BioWare is being forced to head based on how the most recent Dragon Age was, performed. So it just seems like EA's got some stuff to figure out. No doubt they'll turn the corner and everything will be all right, but maybe they should just knock on Disney's door and do some more Star Wars and Marvel licensing, since that seems to be, when in doubt, unless you're Ubisoft, when in doubt, ask Disney for a license and go make one of those games, I guess. But guys, that's gonna do it for our opening news story. That's our appetizers. That you finished your cherry slush from Burger King. It was delicious. You don't have brain freeze, and it was just the right amount of sugar. To all you European and Asian listeners, no, that was not too much sugar. Americans use just the right amount of sugar, which is to say 300 times the daily recommended amount of sugar intake. You guys, Let's move into the news, but we don't just rush into news. We like to ease into news. So before we get into the main news stories, let's talk about the games we've been playing this week. But before I can tell you about the games I've been playing this week, I want to first tell you about what it is I've been eating, you guys. I'm fresh off a trip back home. I spent 4 days back home in Atlanta, in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area, the metro Atlanta area. It was nice. It was really nice. In fact, I was thinking to my girlfriend, I was talking to her, I was thinking out loud, I think this is really the first proper visit I've done to Georgia since I've moved to Florida, because I moved to Florida in 2019, and then I couldn't visit basically all of 2020 because there was like a pandemic going on where the government said, let's just make it impossible for Americans to ever like buy a house or make a half decent fucking wage despite having college degrees and working 60 hours a week. So fuck that. So that was 2020. But then in 2021, I visited Georgia like only once. And it was like a surprise overnight, like quick flight in and flight out just to like say happy birthday to my dad for celebrating his 60th birthday. And then I went back like a year later for my brother's wedding for like 2 nights, but it was like, out of town. It was a wedding thing. It wasn't like a home trip. And I really just haven't spent a lot of time back home in Georgia, which is really what I'm trying to say. So it was really nice to go back, see all the places. Dude, I know it's so cliche. Like there's so many people who've lived this experience before. It's nothing unique, something that hasn't happened before, hasn't been noticed or written about in some book or portrayed in some film. But there really is something to be said about leaving home for a long time, then coming back and being like, wow, everything is the same and everything is different. Because that is, oh boy, is that fucking true. It's weird. It was especially weird. Like the first day you're back, you're like, holy shit. I know where to go and how to get around, but also like, I don't remember the names of these roads. I don't remember the name of that town. I'm blanking. It's like, you feel like you're supposed to know stuff, but you don't. It's so weird. Like just, I don't know anything. I have Florida brain now. My brain is like, I want to go bang my cousin and get a pet alligator in my backyard instead of like, hey guys, you want to go to the museum and look at an art exhibit? I don't fucking know. That's not Atlanta either. But anyway, it was just a weird experience. But very nice visit. Very much miss home. Actually feeling a little homesick right now. If I'm being completely honest, well, I'm a little homesick. I kind of miss home. But one of the things I got to do while I was back those 4 days was I got to go to not my favorite restaurant, but one of my favorite restaurants back home. Definitely my favorite breakfast spot. Which is BB's Bagels. Shout out to BB's Bagels. This place has been around probably since before I was born. I don't know. I don't have a memory of this place not existing because I moved to Georgia when I was like 5. So like this place was like my place. This is less than 10 minutes from the house I grew up in. BB's Bagel is this awesome little like northeastern style diner. In Alpharetta, Georgia, and it's this, it's bagels, it's fucking eggs Benedict, it's coffee. You walk in and like the host don't acknowledge you, or the staff doesn't acknowledge you. They just like fucking seat yourself. You grab a booth, they slap some menus down. They go, "What are we eating? What are we drinking?" You just order, and it's just that place is so weird because it always feels like it's trying to imitate that like northeastern style, like let's go. What do you have? And let's go. But it's also got a little bit of that southern charm, a little bit of that southern hospitality because everyone's like, let's go. Have a nice day. Let's go. Would you like some more coffee? So it's kind of like a blend of like South meets the North. And I've always loved this place. So growing up, especially like during my high school years, oh my God, this is such a fun place to go with friends, on weekends, Saturday, Sunday mornings and stuff growing up. So good. But anyway, I finally got to go back to BB's Bagels, and it was every bit as great as I remembered it. The coffee was awesome. The bagels are really damn good. Definitely not as good as the bagels in New York. I will be honest, and I will admit that. I've been to New York and had far better bagels, but these bagels are pretty damn good. If you live in the Southeast United States, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a bagel this good. So pretty good bagels, great coffee. Breakfast food's awesome. Home fries, just throw some fucking, my favorite thing to get there, the Florentine Eggs Benedict. It's Eggs Benedict, but instead of ham, it's spinach. So it's like eggs and hollandaise and spinach and fucking home fries. You gotta get the home fries. Fuck this hash brown shit. A pile of fruit. What are you, a vegan? Get the home fries, and then what you do is you hit it with a shit ton of extra black pepper and then a shit ton of Tabasco, because Tabasco is the appropriate hot sauce for breakfast food. So there's just no doubt about that. It is what it is. But it was so nice to be back. It was so nice to have that old classic combo. The other funny thing is, after eating an everything bagel with regular cream cheese and an Eggs Benedict plate with home fries and a cup of coffee, at age 29, almost 30. That's a lot more food to stomach than when I was like 18 or 16 and I'd be like, fucking tear it all up. I'd eat it all, and then within 2 hours I'd be at McDonald's, right? But at almost 30, I eat that meal and I'm like, okay, I'm probably done until like dinner tomorrow, like tomorrow's dinner. But it was good. It was good to be back. But the reason I bring this up, the reason I linger on it is because I do feel somewhat guilty, because I swear you can't make this shit up. The day after I ate at BB's Bagels for the first time in roughly 6 years. First time in 6 years. Good to be back. Love this place. Loved it then. Love it now. The next day, local news is like, breaking, BB's Bagel on fire. I shit you not. This restaurant that I grew up loving, adoring, going to regularly, caught on fire. Now, it's not that dramatic. It didn't burn down to the ground. It's not like there's nothing left, but it did catch fire. There was like a grease fire or something in the kitchen and just got out of control. And the fucking thing, like a huge part of the kitchen got burned down. So the restaurant is closed down. It is not operating currently. They said they're going to plan on repairing it and reopening. So it'll probably be a couple months or something like that at most before they're back up and running. But that was a close one. I just got to say, that was a real close one. Couple things. If I had chosen to eat there just a day later, I wouldn't have had BB's. It would have gone 6 years without it, and God knows how much longer until I have it again. So that's one thing. Second of all, did my coming back home to eat at BB's Bagels change the trajectory of this restaurant? Like, you think about like the butterfly effect, right? It's like, what if it's like I ordered Eggs Benedict that morning and the server like took my plate when I was done eating and put it in the corner of the dish room, and then the dish guy knocked that plate over and it fell under the sink, and all the oil and the fat from the hollandaise sauce and the home fries built up near the fucking floor, near the grease trap, and then the next day they were turning on one of the fryers or something and the heat was close enough to where the grease had built up from where my plate was sitting, and boom, it started a grease fire. And like, what if somehow, I don't know, I'm just, obviously it's a stretch, but I'm just thinking out loud here, what if something to do with me going back there after all these years to eat there once more indirectly caused this fire? I mean, that's just fucking wild. I probably burnt this place to the ground, honestly. This is my fault. I had to let this weigh on me forever now. And I just want to say I'm sorry to the people at BB's Bagels. I made the joke to my girlfriend when we sat down. I was like, oh man, it's so embarrassing when you come back to your hometown after all these years. And it's like, you see all the familiar faces, all the people you knew from back in the day. She's like, really? Who do you recognize? I was like, the owner of the restaurant. She's still here because I don't know. I didn't grow up in a small town. There's a lot of people. I didn't really fucking see anyone I knew other than my family, but just trying to be silly because I don't know why I'm telling you that. But anyway, joking aside, obviously thoughts to the staff and the people who rely on this restaurant being open in order to make a living. But hopefully they're able to get back up and running sooner rather than later, because this is a phenomenal place. If for whatever reason you ever find yourself in Alpharetta, Georgia, be sure to check out BB's Bagels. This place is a fucking gem. But yeah, so shout out to that. That's it for what I've been eating. I mean, there's a lot more. I got fat back home in Georgia. I always said, like, one thing I love about Florida way more than Georgia is I think we have better restaurants here in Orlando. I think there's, if money's not an issue, there's some really good food here in Florida. I overall prefer to eat here. I mean, goddamn, Disney alone, like, I could just do, again, if money wasn't an issue, holy shit. I could eat the best meal of my life every fucking day of my life if I could just eat at Disney restaurants forever and always. But, that being said, there's something about going back home. You miss this place, you miss that place, you used to go there. You gotta indulge, you gotta go back to the spots you grew up with, the places you miss, and hit them up. So I got to do a couple of those this weekend, and that was really nice. So shout out to BB's Bagels, shout out to Atlanta. I miss home, but I also love Florida. I'm torn between two different worlds. I'm like Ariel from The Little Mermaid because I have red hair and I'm woke and I identify as a mermaid, because I'm from the water but I'm from the land and my heart lives in both places. But yeah, I guess what would that be? Florida will be underwater soon, so that will be like the under the sea part, and then Georgia can be my land where I feel like I'm part of this world. It makes sense. All right, on to what I've been playing. In lieu of playing video games this past week, I have been traveling, as I just mentioned, so I really haven't been playing shit for video games. I thought about trying to pack my Logitech G Cloud in my backpack, because when I go home, I fly Spirit, because Spirit Airlines is cheap as shit, and the flight from Orlando to Atlanta is literally like not even an hour. It's like 45 to 50 minutes. So like there's no reason to invest in like a proper airline to fly. So I just do Spirit because it's quick, it's cheap, it's easy. And I try to, I'm just like, I'm going to cram like 5 pairs of boxers and 5 t-shirts into a backpack, toothbrush, Kindle, let's fucking go home, right? So I tried it. I was like, can I get my Logitech G Cloud crammed in this backpack? The answer was no. So I had to make a decision. I took the Kindle. So I did not play video games. I wanted to test out the Logitech G Cloud on the plane, because Spirit Airlines will give you like proper streaming quality Wi-Fi for $10 a flight. I was like, I feel like, $10 for roughly 1 hour. I feel like I would pay that just to test out what it would be like to stream Xbox on my Logitech G Cloud while on an airplane. But I ended up not doing that. I just read my Kindle instead. So long story short, I really didn't play video games. I'm still itching to get back to Ninja Gaiden 2 Black and to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Actually, on Monday night when I got home, I did boot up Ninja Gaiden 2 and played like one more level of it, but like I don't have anything really to add to it. I'm just excited this weekend to dive in, wrap up Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and then get into more Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Here's the thing. Here's the setback. Spider-Man 2 came to PC while I was gone, right? So it launched on the 30th or 31st of January. I can play it on PC now. The problem is, apparently the PC port is having some issues, and it's running like shit. Which I was like, damn, initially I was like really bummed out about that, because I'm really excited to finally play Spider-Man 2. But then I realized it's kind of a blessing in disguise, because I got to finish Ninja Gaiden. I want to do more of that Suicide Squad stuff. I'm trying to play through all the seasonal content and then be done with it. And then Avowed's about to come out in like a week. So I'm like, you know what I'll do? Between now and Avowed, I'll just finish up Ninja Gaiden. I'll keep playing Suicide Squad. I'll get that out of my system. Then I'm going to jump into Avowed, enjoy the fuck out of that game for 50 hours or whatever it is. And then when I'm done with Avowed, hopefully by then, in like 3 weeks or whatever, hopefully Spider-Man has gotten its kinks worked out on PC, and there's an update or a patch out, and it's running and working great on the PC version. So then I'll go to Spider-Man. So that's the plan right now. Wrap up Ninja Gaiden, wrap up Suicide Squad, move on to Avowed, then go to Spider-Man. We'll see how it goes. Fingers crossed, because I'm very excited. I'm really excited about gaming in general, because all 4 of those games I just announced, I am really enjoying / looking forward to all of them, and yeah, it's gonna be great. So that's what I will be playing. But for now, really nothing. I was reading my Kindle when I was on the plane, and I've been watching YouTube when I'm on the toilet, and I've just been driving and listening to podcasts and emo music when I'm driving. I don't know, what do you want me to say? But Dead Captain James did write in, this beautiful bastard. He did write in, and he said, my comments are getting deleted again. So this is take 2. Dead Captain James, I'm sorry that your comments are getting deleted. It's probably because you keep writing in about how you think Panera Bread is not as good as hospital food, and I just think most of the moderators at YouTube would disagree with you on that. But you said, I've been playing Kill the Justice League as well. Just unlocked Miss Freeze last night, and actually, it's a shame the game got criticized unfairly. It's a solid 7.5 out of 10. But with today's gamer TM, quote unquote, it's a 7. If it's a 7, it's considered the worst thing ever made. Hope this comment lasts. Also, Veilguard was treated unfairly too. It was my game of the year last year. Combat was the best in the series. Well, I definitely can't speak to Veilguard because I've only ever played Inquisition and got bored of that game after like 90 minutes. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I've heard anecdotally from, tweets and podcasts and stuff that it's not nearly as bad as people say it is. And based on my experience playing Justice League and my experience playing many video games that are better than people say they are, that's probably true. There's probably a lot of truth to what you're saying, and I would not be in the least bit surprised to find out that the new Dragon Age is way better than people give it credit for. But that being said, it's woke. We should kill the people who made it. No, but that being said, let's go back to your Justice League thing. So this is funny. This is serendipitous, maybe. I don't know. I wonder if there's got to be an influx of people playing this game because one, it was recently on PlayStation Plus, and two, it recently just wrapped it's all of its post-launch support. So there's probably a lot of people who are in the same boat as me who are like, maybe not a lot of people, but there's probably a group of people like you and like myself who are like, I kind of want to go back and experience it all now that's wrapped up. Get like a single player quick run through of all the postseason, all the post game content, and then move on with life. So I assume there are other people in this camp. We're not alone, dead Captain James. We're not naked and afraid like they were in that one movie, Naked and Afraid. But I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I really appreciate your sentiment because this echoes exactly how I feel. It's so frustrating, man, and I would even go lower than that. I think the game I often think about, maybe this is a bad example because this game doesn't get shit on. This game is just largely forgotten. But Recore, the Xbox One game that Inafune made with guys, like it was like people who've worked on Mega Man and people who've worked on Metroid Prime basically made this game. It was that Recore game where you play as that girl in like the post-apocalyptic desert land, and she's got like that core cube that's like transforms into like the tank robot guy or the little doggy robot guy or, the little flying one. And it's like the little action adventure game, and it was a shit ton of fun. I actually really, really enjoy that game. It has some really frustrating parts towards the end of the game, but overall, it is a rough around the edges, not super unique, not super groundbreaking. It is unique, but it's not groundbreaking type game, and I just had an absolute blast with that game and really, really enjoyed it. And if I had to rate it, I would say it's a 6 out of 7. 6 out of 7. It's a 6 out of 10. It's really nothing super special, but I just had such a great time with it. And at the time, it was such a comforting and nice palate cleanser type game relative to what else was in the market at the time. And it's just one of those things where it's like, why can't games like that get their due? Why does everything have to be Witcher 3 or fucking Baldur's Gate 3 or Burnout 3 or Halo 3? Like, why is everything has to be 3? No, why is it that every game has to be like this fucking god tier game? It irks me to no end. I know it's not going to change. We live in a world where people have so little free time and so little attention that for most people who aren't freaks like us, who play a lot of video games and are really tapped into the industry, I understand your time is precious. You want to spend what little time you have to game on only the best stuff. I totally respect and understand that take. But what I really don't appreciate and really don't get are like the hardcore gamers, people who play tons and tons of games and have a great varied, interest among many genres and platforms and time periods of gaming. Yet they just can't find it in themselves to appreciate the 6 out of 10 or the game that had great ideas but somewhat poor execution, or the game that was, maybe a little derivative, but, relative to when it came out, it was a breath of fresh air for the time being or something. It's like, why can't we appreciate that more? And I'm always bitching and moaning about that. I know this isn't the first time I brought it up, but yeah, man, I really feel this comment because this is a drum I've been beating forever, and I will always stand beside people who take this stance because I think it's a hill worth dying on, in my opinion. I really think, I don't know, like not every painting can be the Mona Lisa. Not every song can be, I don't know, what's a song that's just so goddamn good and everyone just knows it. There's no disputing it. It's just a great Rivertown Blues by Yellowcard on their 2012 album, Southern Air. Yeah, not every song can be Rivertown Blues by Yellowcard. Sometimes you get a song that's pretty good. Maybe it's a little cringy. Maybe the lyrics aren't too good, but you like the melody. Maybe the lyrics are really good, but the song's kind of basic in its structure. I don't know, but it's okay. We can like parts of things. We can like things despite their flaws. We can like things flaws and all. I don't know. Dead Captain James, thank you for not only killing the Justice League but also defending the Justice League's honor by acknowledging that this game is not great, but it's not bad either, and it is a fun time. Guys, that's it for what I've been playing or thinking about playing. Let's take a quick water break. Hop back, get into the news. We got Xbox games coming to PlayStation. Let's cry. All right, guys, let's hop into the news, starting with the big one, the Forza one. All right, so let's read these. I guess there's kind of two we'll read as one story, but kicking it off. Forza Horizon 5 will be released on PlayStation 5 this spring. It has been confirmed. The port is being handled by Panic Button in partnership with Playground Games and Turn 10 Studios and will contain all the content that's available in the Xbox and PC version. According to a blog post from the official Forza website, Forza Horizon 5 will have all the previously released car packs available for purchase, as well as both expansions, Hot Wheels and Rally Adventure. Quote, "We are excited to see Forza Horizon 5's community grow with new players on PS5. We can't wait to see the creativity and skill these new creators, builders, and racers will bring to the vibrant community," said Playground Games. Panic Button is most well known for their Switch ports of games like Doom Eternal, Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, and so on. As well as PS5 port, a new free content update for Forza Horizon 5 called Realms is coming to all platforms. According to Playground Games, this will allow players to a chance to explore a curated collection of some of the community's favorite previously released evolving worlds, alongside some other surprises. I mean, yeah, this is a huge one. I mean, this is one of the biggest games on Xbox, so just keep in mind, this is one of the three big ones. There's Halo, there's Gears, and then there's Forza. So this is like one of the biggest tentpole franchises Xbox has. So put a pin in that, and let's continue on with this before we get back. Additionally, Xbox has also announced plans to release Age of Mythologies Retold and Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition for PlayStation 5. This real-time strategy game will hit Sony's console this year alongside the launch of the new expansion for both titles, which are currently available for both Xbox and PC. PS5 players will be able to play Age of Mythology Retold when the game's released on March 4th, followed by Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition this spring. Quote, "I'm delighted to share that we have given fans more choice on where to play, where they want to bring Age of Empires 2 and Age of Mythology to PlayStation 5, said Michael Mann, head of Xbox's World Edge Studio. Players across all platforms in the game is a game changer for our franchise, and it's about to bring our community together. This isn't just about convenience, it's about growing and strengthening the Age community. With cross-play, we've created a global battlefield where every strategy, every empire, and every player matters." Okay. This will go on and on with comments and other quotes and stuff, but for now, let's put a pin in it. General stuff, right? So this is inevitable. The rumors were suggesting exactly these games would be announced kind of imminently, that these were kind of ready to go. And so these ones are especially not surprising given the rumors that have been swirling for months now. But there's no denying that it is just freaking crazy to think about a world where Forza exists on PlayStation, just like how we don't expect, Gran Turismo to be on Xbox. We don't really expect Forza to end up on PlayStation. So this is just extra weird. Now, this is the less weird of the two Forza games if you want to split hairs about it, because I guess Forza Motorsport is the one that really competes with Gran Turismo, while Forza Horizon is more of the arcadey, open world, explorative one. But like, who are we kidding, man? It's all coming to PlayStation, right? So I don't want to do the whole "woe is me" song and dance, because we've done a lot of that. That conversation's kind of been beaten to death. But I mean, here's the thing, man. If there was any, I don't know, I think I said this last week with the Phil Spencer interview, but if there was any thought or just anyone out there holding out hope, thinking maybe, just maybe, Xbox will draw the line at games like Gears and Halo and Fable and Forza, let this be your sign that there's no hope in that regard. This is officially a done deal. Xbox is a multi-platform publisher. You cannot put the genie back in the bottle. This just is what it is. So I don't know, man. It's kind of shocking, because it's like I just don't have too much to say about this, because it's like, what else is there to say? I mean, they already did Sea of Thieves. Xbox has been one of the most prolific publishers. I mean, they were the biggest publisher of games in the last few months, and they're like the biggest publisher on PlayStation right now. I mean, like, what else is there to say between Minecraft and Call of Duty and now all these Xbox games and surely Bethesda games and such that will come? I mean, we know Doom's coming soon. What else is there? You know, like, why is Avowed not coming to PlayStation so soon? Why is South of Midnight not coming to PlayStation so soon? Because these games have been in development for a long time, which started back when the plan was for Xbox to have exclusive games to go head-to-head with PlayStation on, and this decision to shift strategies and change everything was made in the past year or two. So, you know, these are ports that will have to get done now, right? We'll have to find people to bring South of Midnight and Avowed and these other games to PlayStation in the coming months and years. But rest assured, it's all coming. It's all going to be there on PlayStation. The Xbox is now officially going to be this machine for people who want to engage specifically with their Xbox profiles and their Xbox community that they've built and gotten ingratiated in. It's also for people who are Game Pass subscribers, people who want to experience Game Pass on a console. You can't get that on PlayStation. You can't get that on Nintendo. You're going to have to get that on an Xbox. And more, Xbox is going to become this boutique, unique, kind of niche device for people who want that kind of experience. And the mass majority of people have, you know, as they should just go to PlayStation or go to PC or go to Nintendo or go wherever the fuck you want. But yeah, the reason to have an Xbox is more and more, I don't know, I guess it's more niche than ever before. I won't say it's more useless or it's futile or anything like that, because the truth of the matter is, you know, I was listening to my favorite podcast, Sacred Symbols, which is actually a PlayStation related podcast, and I just really like those hosts, especially Colin Moriarty. I've always just followed him since his IGN days, and so I've always appreciated his perspective and his what am I trying to say, his analytics, but you know, of course I don't always agree with everything he thinks and says. I mean, after all, we're two different humans with two different opinions. But he was saying something that I particularly disagreed with, where he was talking about, like, what's the point of owning an Xbox at this point, knowing that all of their games are coming to PlayStation. And that was in relation to the story we touched on last week, which is that Xbox hardware is so fucking far back. It's like every quarter, it's like 25-30% down year over year on hardware sales. I mean, like, Xbox Series consoles are selling abysmally right now, like horribly. It's just not a good time. And he was just using that plus this news as like a kind of, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, why would anyone buy an Xbox? And I understand why people would knee-jerk with that kind of reaction, like with that kind of sentiment. But, like, he went on to say, there's nothing attractive about you have to pony up money to buy the console, and then you have to subscribe to Game Pass, and then you own none of those games because it's just a subscription. What is the allure to that? No one wants to buy a console just to pay for a subscription and to own nothing, you know? And I thought about that. I was like, that's not true at all, actually, when you think about it, because the majority of the things we have are things you have to purchase some hardware and then subscribe to some service in order to justify the existence of the hardware, and people love it. Like, what is I mean, obviously a cell phone's a crazy example because you need to have a cell phone. It's a necessity, not a want. But, like, a cell phone is this really expensive technological device that you have to buy, and then if you want to use it, you have to have service. You have to have a Verizon or an AT&T or whatever in order to use that phone. Otherwise, it's a fucking useless device. A computer is a device everyone has in their home, but why would you buy a computer if you weren't going to get, I don't know, the internet, right? You know, a TV is a really awesome device. Everyone loves TV, but there's no point in having a TV if you're not going to get streaming services or cable or something to, like, watch stuff on that TV. So every major hardware purchase in the modern era is predicated around you invest in buying some hardware related object, and then you subscribe to some service. And that, I mean, dude, even like the most basic form, like, that's what home ownership is, right? It's like you buy a house with the hopes that one day you pay off the house, and then what's the idea? That you just own a home, you don't have to pay anymore to live somewhere? It's like, no, wrong again, because you got to subscribe to utility companies and internet providers, and you got to pay property taxes, and you got to maybe have an HOA or something like that. It's like there's always some subscription that is attached to the thing you buy. Everything major. So I think we live in a pretty a world, a society that is pretty comfortable and used to, I'll say, maybe not even comfortable, maybe it's more just used to and accepting of and expects for there to be this kind of system of, like, yeah, you buy the thing and you subscribe to the thing. So I don't think that's really a hurdle for people. Like this idea that like, what is Xbox? Well, it's this hardware device you buy for $300 to $500, and then you subscribe to Game Pass every month for $20 a month, and then that's all your video games. It's just Game Pass. Now, I understand gaming is more niche, it's more superfluous, it's more of a want and less of a need, but the logic, I think, tracks. And I think you have enough of this core Xbox user base that's kind of like dug in on the Xbox community, like myself and like many people listening to this podcast. And then on top of that, you got the people who are like, yeah, that sounds like a great deal. $300 to get this cheap ass console, and then $20 a month, and I just get to always play the latest and greatest games. I think that's good, right? Now, of course, the only thing I think Xbox has working against it, making that argument less desirable, making that proposition less desirable, is just simply the fact that, well, PlayStation has all of those games and more. But on PlayStation, you can't subscribe to something and just get all the games. So we'll get into this conversation a little more as we read some of these follow-up stories that kind of tie into this. But I don't know. I just kind of want to get my base level thoughts down. It's like, listen, I said this last week. My expectation for what Xbox is becoming is they're trying to make it like the PC ecosystem, where it's like, yeah, get the Steam Deck, get the Nintendo Switch, get the PlayStation, get the PC, whatever device you want. They're all Xboxes. But this is the one that we think best encapsulates what the premier Xbox experience should and can look like. And it's the Xbox. And Xbox will become a Microsoft Surface type device. And it will be niche and boutique. And they won't expect to sell way too many of them, or that many of them. And they will be very expensive as a result. I mean, maybe an Xbox will be an $800 investment. And they know that only a couple million people are going to buy them every year or so, as opposed to trying to sell 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 million in a life cycle like we do with current hardware. So I think that's kind of the idea. It'll be this product for those who want it, and the rest, it's like, that's cool. Just go buy Call of Duty for $70 on PlayStation if you don't want to buy an Xbox. So I think that is the idea, that is the plan. And I stand by that. It's just a matter of, will the market allow it? I think that's what we're really waiting on. It's not, is that what Microsoft's going to do or not? I see a lot of people saying Microsoft should just pull the plug on their next console generation. Phil Spencer was in the news this week reiterating that, yes, we are making another hardware generation. I fully suspect Xbox is going to keep making hardware, at least for the midterm. Long term, who knows? But I think at least for the short to midterm, Xbox will remain a console where they will continue to make new hardware available to the market. The question is, how will the market respond to this over the years as we normalize more and more Xbox games being on PlayStation? And I don't know, man. It's a wait and see kind of thing. It's frustrating. I understand the biggest reason this sucks isn't because it's not that we don't want PlayStation users to have access to Xbox games. That's great. If you're on PlayStation, more power to you. Go enjoy Forza Horizon 5. It's a great game. It's just that we want to know that at the end of the day, making these kinds of decisions isn't going to put our online profiles and ecosystems and everything we built, our libraries, our years and years invested in Xbox. We want to make sure that that's not put into jeopardy, and that these consoles don't disappear because of this decision made to make games multi-platform. With that said, let's read on. First, starting on with a couple listener comments. Mr. Malg writes in and says, all these Xbox games coming to other platforms both excites me and makes me sad. It means I can get Xbox games when I inevitably get my Switch 2, but it also means I'm less likely to get the next generation of Xbox. It's honestly tempting for me to just go with having a PC and a Switch, especially if everyone's exclusives are coming to PC. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a totally valid way to go, and I think that's something I would consider if Xbox hardware were to disappear. I'd have to decide, what do I do? Do I stay on PC or do I go to PlayStation, or which one feels more like the Xbox experience? But I totally get it. Why not? Because PC has the best performance on all the games. It has all the PlayStation games. It has all the Xbox games. It has Game Pass. PC is like the number one place, right? Because it's like a PlayStation has Xbox games, but it doesn't have Game Pass. An Xbox has Game Pass, but it doesn't have PlayStation games. A PC has both, but you got to play on PC. It's like eating the most delicious piece of pizza off a homeless man's butthole. Sucks, but it's going to be good pizza. Anyway, so I totally get your conundrum and that kind of attitude. The thing is, I think it's kind of like what Sony has come to realize, and what Xbox realized long before Sony, which is that putting your games on PC doesn't cannibalize the home console. Xbox still sells whether Xbox games go to PC or not. It just determines whether or not they make more money off the PC audience by having those games there. And for PlayStation, it's been the same experience. So I think for a lot of people, it's like, yeah, man, if you want to fucking go to PC, it's like, why not? Because for the most part, Xbox people are going to stay on Xbox, PlayStation people are going to play on PlayStation, and PC is going to be there for people who want it. I have a feeling, and not to say you're one of these people, Mr. Malcolm, I don't think that's true. There are a lot of people who switch to PC. We know that's been a thing that's been pretty popular over the past 10, 15 years, but I also think PC is kind of the boy who cried wolf argument, where anytime people are displeased with a change or a thing made for Xbox or PlayStation, the knee-jerk online reaction is always, well, if you keep this up, I'll go to PC. It's like, yeah, but how many of you guys are actually going to PC? Says the guy who's still playing on PlayStation or whatever. Again, not saying that that's you, but just saying that I think you see a lot of that sentiment online, and people end up staying on their platform despite threatening to go to PC, just because that PC experience is something very, very different from the console experience. And just because you're mad about this or you're mad about that, or games are available here or there, doesn't change the fact that sitting on your couch and playing an Xbox is fundamentally different from sitting at a desk and playing a PC. Just full stop. But let's continue on. Happy Mario 64 writes in and says, just heard the news of Forza Horizon 5 coming to PlayStation. Will you buy the next Xbox console if there is one? I think I just game on xCloud and Switch too in the future. Thanks for your podcast. And I'm in the UK, so not far away from Chessington World of Adventures theme park. Come over and I will buy you an ice cream. Well, thank you, sir. I'd love an ice cream. Well, happy Mario, right? What is this? Beans on toast is your profile picture? Get out of here, you. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I've actually never heard of World of Adventure theme park, and I definitely want to look that up because I wonder if I recognize it if I've seen it, but maybe don't know the name. I don't know. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. It's exciting. It's exciting to see a new theme park I'm unfamiliar with. So thanks for turning me on to that. Yeah, so will I buy the next Xbox console? So let me get one thing straight. As Phil Spencer reiterated this week, as I feel very confident about, as I think they're kind of obligated to do so, there will be another generation of Xbox hardware, whether it fails spectacularly or is a moderate success, whatever the case may be. I fully believe we will get another Xbox home console as well as an Xbox handheld. I fully believe both of those things are happening. I don't have any worry about it happening whatsoever. So, under the impression that these are absolutely happening, will I buy them? Yeah, I'll buy both of them. I'll buy all of them. If there's one that replaces the Series X and one that's like a Nintendo Switch type Xbox, I'll buy both of them. Yeah. I love Xbox. I enjoy playing on Xbox as long as that's an option to continue. I don't care if people on PlayStation can enjoy Halo, a game I enjoy on Xbox. I just want to know that I can continue to enjoy Xbox. I want to know that third-party developers are still going to put those games on Xbox. I want to know that I can play, and that's the one thing I worry about, is as Xbox hardware continues to dwindle and dwindle, do third-party companies start to go, okay, there's no point in putting these games on Xbox. Let's just put these games on Switch and PC and PS5 and fuck Xbox, because if there's only 10 million Xbox Series 9s out there, it's just not worth it to put, FIFA or whatever on that console. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. It's all, again, this is the thing that sucks, is the unknown is scary and intimidating. But overall, I think Xbox is going to keep supporting the platform, at least for the time being. I think they're kind of locked into doing that. But we'll have to see how it goes. Maybe they'll make it so easy that you can just play PC games on Xbox. I don't know. Phil Spencer loves talking about trying to get Steam on Xbox. We just had to see what the future holds in store for us, what this new vision of Xbox is. Something tells me the team at Xbox is hard at work trying to figure out what that vision is as well, because this was a huge unexpected right turn, left turn rather, that they were forced to take in making all their stuff multi-platform and taking this route. So I think we're going to learn a lot about what Xbox's hardware strategy looks like in the next 24 months, and I'm very curious to see. I have a lot of speculation, but I'm very curious to see, because at the end of the day, I know nothing. But yes, I'll get it. I don't know if I would switch to PC or PS5 if I had to. I don't know. I have always said PlayStation, but I think more and more these days I might go to PC just because you can have a more Xbox experience there in a way. I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that one yet. All right, so let's talk about these two interviews with former PlayStation executives, because it kind of plays into all this. So from VGC, their write-up of it, former PlayStation executive Adam Boyes has praised Microsoft's agile gaming strategy and claimed that there are no victims in the Xbox multi-platform movement. Adam Boyes, known by many for the PlayStation infamous video of how to share games back in 2014 or 13, right? was PlayStation's VP of third-party relations between 2012 and 2016. For those who don't remember the video, that was after Xbox announced like DRM and Xbox One, all these things that pissed people off. They released that video where Adam Boyes and Shuhei Yoshida of PlayStation made that video called How to Share Games on the PlayStation 4. And he just hands Shuhei a copy of a PlayStation 4 game. And he's like, oh, thank you. As a way to like kind of dig at the Xbox One. Anyway, but speaking in an interview with Gamertag Radio, Adam Boyes was asked if his opinion on Microsoft's increased focus on multi-platform releases. He said, I understand why people have feelings about it and opinions, because their idea and is the identity of me choosing a brand and being beholden to that brand is unilateral, and therefore that should be one source of all content. But I do think that if we think of it as an analogy of they were Blockbuster that became Netflix. And what I mean is that when they began, it was about physical until it became an entertainment experience in the living room. And that the plastic player that you put your discs in and plays it. So you need to serve people and with the physicality of it. He added, retail and partnerships are important. You and I have both waited in many lines and spent many early mornings to rush in there and sprint against everyone else. And I usually lost the race. By the way, to get the console as fast as we possibly could. And it's just different now. The former VP of PlayStation said that Xbox is now an entertainment provider and not just a disc producer and disc distributor. He continues, so if I think about it, the analogy that maybe PlayStation is like HBO, Microsoft's like Netflix, Nintendo's like Disney, then their job is to get incredibly interactive and engaging entertainment out to as many people as possible. He added, I understand many traditionalists are looking at it and being like, I don't like change. I want it to only be where I want it to be. And that's the bit where the logic gap starts to break. Because when Phil Spencer and his team are putting amazing content on more platforms, who's the victim? I asked a lot of people, who's the victim? And then there aren't any except for the people who are like, I only want there to be games where I buy them, and that's what I expect. Boyes said that he applauds Xbox for being agile enough to change in the transitioning market to expand, but agreed that Microsoft's multi-platform strategy presents challenges when it comes to the value proposition of future consoles. You're absolutely right that when they're trying to sell people on a new vision of a console, it is 8K, 16K, 32K? Where are we going from here? Right now, I'm happy with the number of Ks and the fidelity. It's great. Then the value proposition is changing. So let's stop there for a second. So it's just kind of the same thing where it's like, you got to think about it like this way. If the tables were turned, PlayStation might be doing something similar as well, right? PlayStation is clobbering Xbox, and therefore PlayStation is in a position where they also need to grow to more of a market. Games are becoming so expensive to make. Games are becoming more and more live service oriented, and the way to succeed is to sell a game to a massive swath of people and to try and sustain a player base. And so for Xbox, they already expanded in 2016 when they started bringing games to PC, and now they're expanding by bringing their games to PlayStation. But for PlayStation, it's totally different because, well, they are the dominant force in the market, and while they also still need to expand drastically, they've done it in the way of starting to put their games on PC. But when it comes to Xbox, they can kind of just skip Xbox because Xbox has a relatively low install base. PlayStation has a far higher install base, and they can kind of wait out this tough period and see if Xbox goes the way of the dodo bird while they try to sustain taking on as many new players as they can by leaning on PC and trying to push PlayStation. I mean, Sony's already kind of flirting with Nintendo Switch, and we'll see. I'm sure that's going to continue to expand in coming years. They have not been as aggressive at Xbox as Xbox has been, and what they're doing is not exactly a one-to-one of what Xbox is doing, but it is similar. It is a similar start, and it comes from the same place, which is that they need to expand their audience. They need to get more people to buy more games because games are expensive to make and take shit tons of time to create, and if they want to continue to sell games at $70 a pop and not raise prices and not lay people off and not scale back the vision of games, they need to reach a wider audience. And that's where we're at. It's like streaming services, like he says, right? Netflix and Disney Plus and HBO. We got to attack a massive amount of subscribers and massive amount of an audience, a large audience, in order to make this platform work. And the problem is the value proposition of the Xbox hardware becomes what? And that's the thing Xbox has to figure out. I think, you go back to those quotes from Phil Spencer talking about trying to get things like Steam and stuff on Xbox. I think the idea is to try and make Xbox this PC home console play whatever you want anywhere, subscribe to Game Pass kind of entertainment hub for the living room, kind of like, I don't know, the Xbox One. No, I'm just kidding. But, to try and evolve what Xbox is and make it more than just what it's been, in an attempt to be like, yeah, Xbox isn't just PlayStation, but the other guy version with different games. It's now this place to play games in your living room, but it does so much more than just play Xbox games. So I think that's what they have to figure out, right? It can't just be a beefier, prettier, sexier Xbox. It has to be an evolution of what Xbox is, and that is the wait and see. And then we get this other interview with Sean Layden, former PlayStation executive, who says that it seems like, likens it to Sega, this move with Xbox, it likens it to Sega, but it says that it will make it harder for Xbox to build a FOMO for Xbox consoles if they continue to go multi-platform. So Sean Layden, who was the chairman of PlayStation Worldwide Studios and left in 2019, recently appeared on Kiwi Talks YouTube channel. Among other topics discussed was Microsoft's recent initiative to release major games on PS5, to which Layden said multi-platform is a strategy, particularly in a world where the cost of development is increasingly so dramatic. What does it do to the brand? It makes the conversation harder to create the FOMO, or the fear of missing out, you're trying to do by bringing everyone everywhere to your platform and by saying, if you're not here, you're missing out. But if it's available on other platforms, that's one of your marketing tactics that you can no longer use. We've seen it before. It was a business when Sega brought their Dreamcast titles to PS2. In time, the Sega became software only as a company and have had a great transformation in that sense. So it does have a historical precedent. So he's kind of saying it kind of makes sense based on history that Xbox is going to have to give up the hardware at some point and just go multi-platform. Maybe that's what happens one day somehow, but I think Xbox is going to try to desperately have their cake and eat it too, which they've been pretty unsuccessful at doing, when you look at pretty much everything Xbox has done since the 360 generation, but doesn't mean they're not going to try, and I think that's where we're at. So when people say, what's the point? There's not going to be another Xbox. They're just going to cancel everything. It's like, no, you don't get it. They're going to try and do a one last thing. They're going to try to reinvent it. This is their Nintendo Switch moment, but it's way more dire, right? Nintendo was in a tough spot when the Wii U completely fucking bombed, and they were in a position where it's like, we got to do a new console. We got to do a new console quick, and we can't afford for it to bomb the way the Wii U did, because now we're kind of back up against the wall. Xbox is in a similar situation, but it's way more dire, where if this next Xbox platform doesn't do something for them, that's the end of Xbox hardware. Not Xbox as a brand. I think Game Pass can continue, especially Xbox as a game studio, publisher, whatever, can continue. But that is when I think Xbox hardware dies, is if they cannot successfully pivot with the next generation of hardware and come up with some new tantalizing, creative, and compelling reason to justify purchasing an Xbox in a world where those games are also on PlayStation, in a world where you could just get a PC. So that's what we have to look forward to. That's what we're waiting for. I don't know the answer. I just think it has to do something with trying to bring it all together, right? Because if you think about every device that is an Xbox, now that everything's an Xbox, right? Your phone is an Xbox, but it's also a smartphone. Your TV is a smart TV and a YouTube player and a whatever and a 4K Blu-ray player, but it's also an Xbox. Your PlayStation is a PlayStation, but it's also an Xbox. Your Nintendo is a Nintendo, but it's also an Xbox. So your Xbox needs to be an Xbox, but it also needs to be, what, a PC? All-in-one media hub? I don't know. Let's figure it out. But that's what Xbox's next hurdle is to figure out what else an Xbox is aside from just a box to play Xbox games, because you got to make people want it and you got to justify its existence in a world where PlayStation is the alternative. So I know. I firmly believe we'll get that next generation. Like I said, into the midterm, Xbox is sound as a hardware thing. We'll keep having it around. Beyond that, no fucking clue. So I wish I could have something more to say. I just don't really know, what else there is to say. Okay. And so, yeah, we'll go through that. We touched on this a little bit, so let's go through it. Man, there's so much news this week. We got two more. So Microsoft has reported that a 7% revenue decline for its gaming division during its second fiscal quarter. The division generated $6.6 billion in revenue during its 3 months ending December 31st, which was down $530 million year over year. The decline was attributed to a 29% drop in Xbox hardware revenue, driven by a lower volume of consoles sold during the quarter. Xbox content and services revenue was up 2% year over year, fueled by growth in Game Pass. Satya Nadella ran through the Xbox division's quarterly highlights during an earnings call and said we're focused on improving the profitability of the business in order to position it for long-term growth driven by higher margin content and platform services, and we are delivering on that plan, he said. Nadella confirmed that Black Ops 6 enjoyed a record-breaking launch quarter as it topped software sales on both Xbox and PlayStation. He also said that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle had attracted over 4 million players since its launch in December. That's not bad at all, actually. That's for a single-player game, that's pretty good. It's not phenomenal, especially considering it was on Game Pass, only 4 million. I feel like it should be able to get maybe closer to 6 or 8 million, but not terrible. I don't know. Considering Game Pass, that actually does sound a little weak. He says, quote, we are continuing to see strong momentum for Xbox Cloud Gaming with a record 140 million hours streamed this quarter. All Game Pass set up new quarterly records for revenue and grew its PC subscriber base by over 30% as we focus on driving fully paid subscribers. So it sounds like Game Pass subscribers on PC went up 30%. That's probably all because of Call of Duty. That is phenomenal. That's phenomenal growth. Now the problem, the question becomes, can they sustain that? Can they keep that 30%, or does it drop off after a month or two, or if Call of Duty hype and fatigue setting in? $465 million was spent on Microsoft Gaming over the December, making the company the world's biggest publisher across PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Microsoft has been putting increased focus on multi-platform strategy, and 64% of the consumer spending of its games in December was on the PlayStation platform, mostly driven, of course, by Call of Duty. And Peer published data that said that Microsoft was comfortably ahead of second place Electronic Arts, which generated $366 million over the same period. So Xbox is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking as a hardware manufacturer and growing like crazy as a publisher. They are now the second biggest, or the biggest publisher right now, because they took over Activision, plus their Bethesda, plus their Xbox, plus they're now on PlayStation. So that's fucking strong shit for Xbox. Bodes well for their future as a brand and as a publisher, but not maybe so much as a hardware manufacturer. And lastly, guys, let's get into that Battlefield news as we shift away from Xbox. Electronic Arts has shared the first pre-alpha gameplay footage of the next Battlefield game. About 10 seconds of footage was included at the end of a video introducing the studios working on the new Battlefield game a community testing program. Confirmed in a recent leak, the new closed testing environment for the series is called Battlefield Labs. Quote, Battlefield Labs is a place for us to test concepts and experiences we're excited about with you, our players, according to EA. We want our community to take a key role in the future of Battlefield, and this is an opportunity for many of you to do just that. It's an unprecedented moment for Battlefield. We will start by testing the pillars of play, like core combat and destruction, then transitioning to balance and feedback for our weapons, vehicles, gadgets, and ultimately leading to where all this pieces together with our maps, modes, and squad play. And yes, we'll be testing Conquest and Breakthrough, the heart and soul of all-out warfare, and our Battlefield Labs will also be a place to explore new ideas and fine-tune improvements to Battlefield pillars like our class system and create deeper, more strategic play. Players can register now for the chance to participate, with the initial invites being set out and distributed to a few thousand people in Europe and North America. Over time, EA plans to open playtesting up to other territories and to tens of thousands of more users. 4 internal EA studios, of which the publishers collectively referring to as Battlefield Studios, are building a connected universe set in the modern-day Battlefield universe. DICE is responsible for its multiplayer component. Motive is working on multiplayer maps, as well as single-player mission content. Criterion is mainly focused on single-player, and Ripple Effect is creating new experiences for the series. So this is a lot. So Battlefield, the word is they're going to have another Battlefield out by mid-year next year. So in about roughly a year, we'll have another Battlefield game. And in the interim, this is an opportunity for the community to test, look, feel, modes, maps, guns, so that they can kind of, this is really smart. It's like you're not playing the new Battlefield, but you're playing the components that will go into the new Battlefield, and we'll play test and fine tune it together as we develop the game, so that it's kind of like focus testing. It's like it's like kind of like an early access game that you're not actually playing the game. It's like you're playing components of the game, but you're not playing the game. And they'll use this feedback that they get while you're doing that to then make a proper game. I think it's really interesting. It's a really unique way to make a game. And it's a really good way to, ensure in a world where you can't make these big budget, high profile, super expensive games and have them bomb like Battlefield 2042 did. It kind of ensures that you're making the game your player base wants to play, and so that it's going to come out a smash hit success. I think this is a very, very unique way to take like early access and do something very different with it and help build a game that's AAA and high budget and all those things, high profile, but also safe. Something you know will do well because you built it in the community's image in a way. So I kind of like that. I kind of don't like it from the perspective of just taking away, the developer's ability to just make the game they want to make. But I also think this is a very smart way to mitigate the risk of building these high budget, high profile AAA games. So this is really cool. So we don't really know what the next Battlefield game is. We just got this little snippet of it, but I'm very I don't know how to say this. I don't give a shit about the next Battlefield game. I'm not excited at all because Battlefield always looks really good, and then I end up kind of being underwhelmed by it. I'm sure it will be fine. I'm sure it will be good, but the bigger thing here just being that it just sounds like they have the right teams and they're in the right headspace while developing this game, and that this is a lot of potential for Battlefield to be back in a big and meaningful way. And so from that perspective, I just think this is really cool. But guys, it's going to do it for all of our big news stories. Let's wrap up with a couple important enough news stories. Stories important enough to make the podcast, but not important enough to warrant their own discussions. So here we got Mass Effect and Dragon Age developer BioWare have reportedly halved in size compared to 2 years ago, partially because EA's decision to make cuts and move employees to different teams with the company. Bloomberg reports that following the announcement of a studio reorganization this week, EA informed team members who believed that they had been temporarily loaned to other EA studios following the completion of Dragon Age, that these moves were now in fact permanent and that these are layoffs. In some cases moves, in some cases layoffs. BioWare confirms this week that some employees have been moved to help other EA projects, including on Skate or Iron Man, since the next Mass Effect game was in pre-production and did not entirely need the entire studio. So hopefully this is more restructuring and moving around than it is bye-bye for good. Next up, an immersive Minecraft experience is coming to London, coinciding with the release of the Minecraft movie on April 4th. The Minecraft experience Village Rescue will open its doors the same day at Corner, a new multi-use venue in Canada Water. I don't know where that is, but cool. Lastly, the upcoming 5th season of Multiverse will be the last for the game, the developers confirmed. After careful consideration, our next season will be the final season content update for the game. A statement in the blog post on the game's blog reads, Season 5 will run February 5th to May 30th, at which point the game will go offline and be delisted from PlayStation, Microsoft, Steam, and Epic stores. Rest in peace. It's a competitive world out there. Guys, it's going to do it for all of our news this week. It is time to get into the best, the last, and my favorite segment, the comments, shoutouts. You know how it works. YouTube.com/XboxOnPodcast. Click on the latest episode of the podcast and drop a comment. You can be nice. You can be a dick. Just know whether or not you get read, whether or not you get treated with respect might just have something to do with what you choose to write in. So think about that. Alrighty. Eli Da Silva, we're going to read you last. I put you down here at the bottom, so we'll get to you in a minute. But let's start off with some palate cleansers, some light ones, some quick and breezy ones. Compassionate Choice LLC writes in and says, what's with all the nonsense drive-by comments? It's definitely a reflection of self to find a podcast you don't even like or have any interest in, and then try to shit all over it. Keep up the good work, Jesse. We come for the news, and we stay for the laughs. Thank you, Mr. Compassionate Choice. I wasn't trying to start off with a pat on the back. I just pasted all these comments in a random order, so I do appreciate the kind words. And thank you all for the, I got some positive feedback and everything from having to take a stance a little bit last week, and I appreciate you guys, your understanding. I recognize 99% of people who listen to this podcast are good people, well-intended people. They don't need to be talked down to or told what to believe politically or socially. It's just, we could just be normal individuals and have a multitude of different perspectives and beliefs and just all respect one another and be decent people. But unfortunately, there were some bad eggs that we had to tell them to fuck off, I guess. But Compassionate Choice, thank you. I appreciate you. Have a great week, sir. Next up, we got Mr. Maug writing in. He says, my penis is so big, I can't even write a whole comment about... No, that's not what he says. He says, I meant to write in last week about the topic of phones. I, too, have an addiction to phones, where every year I want to get the latest and greatest. My Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra was the first time I actually stuck with a phone for 2 years. Weirdly enough, same here, man. That was the first time I stuck with a phone for 2 years for the first time in like 6 or 7 years. I really loved my S23 Ultra. That was a great phone. Also, the OnePlus 13 is fantastic. I don't miss having the Samsung. I'm enjoying a real fast charging, the bigger battery, and having an IR blaster. You get blasted by your IR, really? The OnePlus 13 is phenomenal. I really like that phone. I don't know if it's phenomenal. It looks phenomenal. I don't have it. I haven't used it. But it looks phenomenal. I've seen a lot of videos. I love watching stupid tech YouTube shit. So that's cool, man. I'm glad you're enjoying it. My thing is, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I kind of got suckered in to the Samsung ecosystem the way I used to be suckered into the Apple ecosystem, the way many people would never consider an Android because they're so bought into the Apple ecosystem. I'm like, I already use I kind of like Samsung's approach to Android. I like their web browser, their mail client, their Photos app. I like their messaging app. I like all their things that make Android feel like Samsung and not Google. I like my Samsung Galaxy Watch. I like my Samsung. Just everything I got going on with Samsung is like I'm kind of happy with it. I don't really want to abandon it, which is stopping me from trying like a Pixel or a OnePlus. But I really don't want to be that guy. So I'm like also trying to keep a real open mind to maybe transitioning off of Samsung sometime soon. But also at the same time, Samsung makes flips and folds and stuff, and that's what I like. I like cool, ridiculous, wacky phones. So they're kind of already making interesting phones that I'm like good to stay with. So I don't know, man. I'm definitely open to switching gears, but Samsung's got me pretty satiated right now. It's been hard, but I'm glad you're enjoying your OnePlus 13. Dude, this is my thing. It's like I envy people who are iPhone people and who just buy an iPhone, and then after 3 or 4 years, they buy another iPhone, and then after 3 or 4 years, they buy the next iPhone, and they don't think about it. They're just like, I don't give a shit. Like those people you meet where you're like, what phone do you have? And they're like, I have an iPhone. I don't know if it's a 12 or a 13. I don't know if it's a Pro or a Max. And they genuinely don't know. Like those people who just have a relatively recent iPhone, but they don't even know what iPhone it is because they don't care. I envy those people so much because those people don't think about phones. It's one less thing to stress over. It's one less thing to care about. They just are content with what they have. They spend less money on phones overall. But I cannot be one of those people. I got so bored trying to be one of those people. I had iPhone 6, then I had iPhone 10R. I was just like, God damn it, nothing fucking changes. But I gotta stick with just switching it up constantly. I'm like, now I want a slab phone. Now I want a bendy phone. Now I want Samsung. Now I want Razer. It keeps changing all the time. Rest in peace, Surface Duo. But thank you for writing in, Mr. Malk. You have a great week, and always love talking a little bit of Disney or phones or something else. I love that. I love when someone else in the audience is like, oh, I love theme parks, or I love cell phones, or I love cars, or whatever, and we get to get off course for a minute and talk about something non-Xbox related. It's always fun. Cronky says, okay, so now I know it's only been a few months, but Dragon Age Veilguard sold 1.5 million units so far. Dead Space Remake seems to have sold 2 million. So can we get a new Dead Space now? There's no way Dead Space's budget was higher, and I gotta think it was more profitable, right? Well, yeah, Dead Space's budget was way lower, took way less time to make, and God, Dragon Age was in development hell for like a decade. So yeah, that game was a catastrophic bomb for how poorly it sold. But that being said, I don't think EA is looking at this, and I know you're just being goofy, Cronky, but I don't think EA is looking at this and going, well, Dead Space sold better than Dragon Age, so let's make another Dead Space. I think they're looking at this and going, well, both these games really underperformed compared to where we wanted them to be, so let's just not make either of these games again. And so I think you're going to get more sports games, more live service games, more Battlefield games, and fewer Dragon Age and Dead Space games. I think that's the real answer. But Cronky, thank you for writing in. Sorry to disappoint you, and have a great week. William Fontanez says, I wish I could be bothered to go into a panic mode like the rest of the Xbox community now that Forza's and other exclusives are coming to PlayStation. But for the past 6 weeks, I've been playing The Last of Us Part 1 and Black Myth Wukong on my Xbox Series X. Yes, my Xbox Series X. Using Boostroid, which is a cloud gaming website. Boostroid is a cloud gaming website that you pay a monthly subscription for, which allows you to stream and purchase PC games, whether they're from Epic Games Store, Steam, or etc., on a browser. I've just been using Microsoft Edge to play those PlayStation exclusives on my Series X. No problem. I know I could have easily gone a PS5, but I just wanted to try out my Wi-Fi 6 router that I paid $4,000 for to see how my money gives me an advantage, and it's perfect. Of course, there's a tiny bit of overlay, but the thing is, I always know the method to method to remove that. I love how money just gives you access to info that everybody doesn't know about. If I really wanted to, I could just broadcast this to Sony's fanboy community, but these guys are funny right now with their cockiness. They're on a roll right now, and I enjoy it. LMAO. Why you always gotta be so silly at the end of the comment? Why? I swear to God, I've heard of Boostroid. You're not the first person to mention this. I knew about this, and then I forgot about this, and now I know about this again. That That I want to try that. That sounds interesting. That sounds fun. But also, good for you, man. I don't care. Play games how you want to play games and where you want to play games. Who gives a shit? If you're cheesing it, or you're using this streaming service that allows you to play your Steam games on your Xbox, and therefore you feel like you're playing PlayStation on Xbox, by all means do that. Enjoy that. Good for you. 99% of people don't want to jump through hoops to do that kind of thing, but good for you. I'm gonna keep playing my Xbox. Most people are just gonna kind of do whatever they're gonna do. It's okay, man. I think that was an interesting thing to turn us on to. I appreciate it, but we don't need to talk about. I don't know. Is the Xbox community melting down? I guess to some extent. I guess the bigger thing I really want to draw attention to here, William, is that your comment read so much like a fucking ad for Boostroid. I gotta know how much money you just got paid because I read this on the podcast. I really gotta know. But that being said, my brain's fried. Boostroid is linked with childhood cancer, so if you play Boostroid, you're pretty much the devil. And have a great week. I'm gonna go play fucking Suicide Squad on my Xbox Series S this weekend because I cannot wait for it to be Friday so I can do that. Goddamn. All right, Daniel Winky writes in and says, "Wow, Forza's coming to PlayStation. They're really putting exclusives on PS. I honestly don't care. The golden era of Xbox was the 360, and most of my favorite games aren't backwards compatible. So it's not like they're going to put Forza Horizon 3 or other gems stuck on the 360 due to licensing and other bullshit. Do you mean Forza Motorsport 3? Because that was 360. Forza Horizon 3 was Xbox One. I'm not worried at all. Even though Halo is a staple of the 360, there are so many 360 games that are never getting remastered or back compat. So I'm good. Gaming these days just feels like fast food. Literally food that is fast and dispensable disappears quickly. Gaming back then in the mid to late 2000s felt like a home-cooked meal. So I'm not bothered. They're only going to port Xbox One and Series X games, and only 360 games they're porting over are those that were remastered or ported to Xbox One and Series X. So it's not the same. It might look better, but the feeling of those old-aged graphics, they'll never really replicate that. Unless they get an Xbox 360 and then they can't experience the classics, they're just stuck on 360. That'll never see the light of day on new consoles, so I'm good. I disagree. I think Gears 2 and 3 will absolutely end up on PlayStation somehow, and those are not on Xbox One. Those are not, natively on Xbox One, I should say. Listen, man, this Daniel Winky, with all due respect, and I mean all due respect because you've been a kind, respectful commenter. This kind of reads to me like a little bit of copium. I'm not going to lie. We don't need to come up with like I don't care that PlayStation's getting Xbox games because I can stream this, or these games won't come to PlayStation, or Xbox stopped being relevant at this point. It doesn't fucking matter. What matters is that going forward, PlayStation consumers have no reason to buy an Xbox for the most part because Xbox games are on PlayStation. Xbox has put themselves in a bind that they had to figure out a way out of as far as their hardware goes. But as far as publishing and games and everything, they're going to continue to be great at all that. I don't know, man. Like, my only thing is it's like I'm super curious and interested to find out what the future of the hardware stuff is because I'm invested in that. But, like, I just don't care. Purely from the perspective of PlayStation players having access to quote-unquote my games doesn't bother me because I don't want to play Avowed on PlayStation 5. I want to play it on Xbox. I don't want to play South of Midnight on PS5. Case in point, these games are also coming to PC. I'm not going to play Doom, The Dark Ages on PC. I'm going to play it on Xbox because my mother loved me when I was a child, and I'm not maladjusted like that. So it's just, I don't know, it's just that simple. It's like we don't have to come up with weirdly hyper-specific niche examples of why this isn't a problem because this specific thing isn't going to carry over. It's like, calm down. It's okay. It is what it is. One Xbox game I don't think PlayStation's ever going to get is Redfall. So there's that. But silliness aside, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't truly matter at all. Right now, my focus is on Avowed because that game looks so good and it's coming out very eminently. But looking forward to the future, I'm really curious to see how Xbox handles this, addresses it, or doesn't address it at all come this game showcase in June. And then past that, I think we're on to the races. It's within the next year, we'll have a reveal for the next generation of Xbox hardware. And I'm really curious to see what the plan is to differentiate the next generation of Xbox from PlayStation in a world where Xbox games are also available on PlayStation. So that's all I really got to say to that. I just don't really want to keep coming back from the copium, so to speak. Thank you for your answer. Have a great week. Jay Comatose writes in and says, "Oh man, I really wanted Bulletstorm 2. Brother, You and me both. You and me both. Have a great week. Tim R. writes in with the penultimate comment and says, I'm rarely in a situation to write in, but please know your show's amazing and I look forward to it every week. Also, it's good to hear that you don't plan on having a co-host, or at least permanently, as I really enjoy the schizophrenic monologuing, and that got 2 thumbs up. So at least 2 other people agree that I schizophrenically monologue in this podcast and that they prefer it to having a co-host. So to all the panelists of co-hosts that I've ever considered asking to have on the podcast, a sincere and deeply professional fuck you. We're going to continue to keep this show weird. Thank you, Tim R, for writing in. Have a wonderful week, and thank you for your input. I appreciate you as always, and I hope that you don't leave Xbox for PlayStation. Oh, I'm so scared. Our last comment. God, I'm getting worse and worse, I feel like, because this podcast, I'm moving way faster than usual. I'm really struggling with like the whole like recording for 2 hours straight kind of thing. But let's get into it. Our last comment of the week, Eli De Silva writes in and says, I'm a big man with a big plan. He says, hey, Jesse, I haven't written into the podcast since August with Gamescom and Indiana Jones being on PS5. So side note, Troy Baker got an award for his best performance from the New York City Critics Award. Cool stuff. Glad he got it. He killed. Anyway, Ninja Gaiden, baby. When I think of classic OG Xbox, when I got mine way back in 2002, were my stacks of different Xbox gaming magazines. One of them being Official Xbox Magazine, reading an article on a weird Star Wars RPG called Knights of the Old Republic, my copy of Jet Set Radio Future, and a demo disc of Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden, both 2D and 3D, was the birth of the hard as balls get good school of gaming. I've played Ninja Gaiden Black off again and on again from OG Xbox to 360, but left behind for newer games. But then comes the Developer Direct and seeing Koei Tecmo and Platinum Games together to bring back Ninja Gaiden 4 for Game Pass was truly amazing. A sneaky Ninja Shadow drop of Ninja Gaiden Black 2 remastered in Unreal Engine 5 for Game Pass as well. Dude, as an OG Xbox owner and Xbox fan, this warms my heart to no end. Tomonobu Itagaki, the creator of Dead or Alive and 3D Ninja Gaiden, my God bless his crazy ass soul. Love the Xbox. Always supported the generation with Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive through the years, with Ninja Gaiden 2 being an exclusive to Xbox 360 and bloody as fuck. Koei Tecmo totally fucked it up when they nerfed Blood and Gore Ninja Gaiden 2 and 1, Sigma Trilogy, and also lost some of the source code for Ninja Gaiden Black 1, so some of the parts look worse. Just stick to Ninja Gaiden Black 1 for OG Xbox with back compat, which is on sale for half off now. A steal, a sneaky ninja steal. And Ninja Gaiden Black 2 is now the definitive way to play, with blood, dismemberment, and gore as it was meant to be. Yeah, I've read a lot of that, like always stick to Black, not Sigma, for very similar reasons. Anyway, you said Platinum collaborating with Microsoft. That's a lot. We're almost there. Platinum collaborating with Microsoft is great to see after tragic misfortune, which was Scalebound. Everybody seems to be doing projects that is in their wheelhouse now that games are all better for it. All the other gamers from the Direct looked great. All the other games from the Direct look great. South of Midnight looks fun, like a different third-person action-adventure platform thingy. Expedition 33 looks weird and cool, and Doom the Dark Ages looks like freaking Doom. Only sad thing about it is obviously the lack of Mick Gordon in the music. You can tell the music just doesn't have that personality. You hate to see it, but it is what it is. In all, great showing for releases until mid-May. Then it's E3 quote-unquote season, and who knows what shows up then. Looks like Xbox has games this year. Not bad for a dead console, huh? Cheers, Jesse, and much love. Hey, I think that was a great recap, and I appreciate your insight on Ninja Gaiden. Dude, I'm really appreciating Ninja Gaiden. It's a series I've always wanted to get into, and Ninja Gaiden Black 2 has really given me that opportunity to truly appreciate and enjoy the series, and it makes me think deep down, it's like, will I go back and play Ninja Gaiden Black like the original on Xbox? Probably not. Will I go back and play Ninja Gaiden 3? Maybe, probably not. They'll probably make a Ninja Gaiden 3 Black in the coming years, right? Now that this is kind of doing well, assuming that Ninja Gaiden 4 does well, that is. But will I play Ninja Gaiden 4? Absolutely. I'm really loving Ninja Gaiden Black 2, and I feel like this is such a great way to get everyone hyped today for what's in store later in the year. So really, really appreciate this. Yeah, good touchback with Microsoft getting to work with Platinum again with Ninja Gaiden 4, kind of like when they were working with Scalebound. This is, I think, a really good match this Team Ninja and Platinum Games thing. And Platinum Games needs the work. They've been kind of on the downswing lately, so this is hopefully a good layup for them. But guys, I think with that, that's really going to do it for the podcast. Eli, thank you for writing in. Have a wonderful week. Thank you all for listening. I'm going to go take a shower and go to bed because I'm exhausted as fuck. But I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all have a great week gaming. Hey, remember, this weekend, when you're playing Spider-Man 2 on the PC, or you're playing Black Myth Wukong on the PS5, or you're streaming Mario Kart Ninja Warrior on your Super Dual Blade 6-9 Pro from China, whatever you choose to do this week, just enjoy the video games. It doesn't fucking matter what game it is. Doesn't matter what platform you play it on. Doesn't matter the TV. Doesn't matter the quality. Doesn't matter anything. What matters is that you play a game that speaks to you, that you're having a good time playing, and you just enjoy the fuck out of it. And then you can come back to the podcast and write in and tell me all about it. But we just got to be a little, calm the fuck down. It is scary times. Don't get me wrong. I want there to be another Xbox and an Xbox after that and an Xbox after that. But the thing is, the gaming industry is shifting as a whole. Xbox is definitely the one in the most precarious situation and the one that's going to fall first if there's any falling to be had. But keep in mind that the way games are being made, the budgets, the demands they need to reach in order to be, quote unquote successful, and the way that consumers are enjoying video games and gaming content these days is entirely different. And we could be looking at a world where even PlayStation doesn't exist in a way that's recognizable by today's standards, in the coming years. Maybe it won't happen as soon as Xbox, but it could happen. A lot of, you could imagine a world where people stop buying PlayStations as much because tablets and TVs and all these other methods and modes of engaging with games. And so just keep in mind, like, gaming as a whole is in a crazy transition shift evolution period right now, and Xbox especially so because they screwed the pooch and lost during a lot of important years, and now are kind of being thrust into a very different position that's going to force them to evolve and change even faster and further than they would have before. So I get it. It's weird. It's different. It's crazy, but like, it is what it is. We got to be here for it, like, we can't deny what's happening before our eyes. It just is what it is. But in the meantime, we can continue to enjoy the gamer score. We can continue to enjoy the games that we're playing, and we can continue to just keep an open mind and let people do whatever the fuck they're doing. Until next week, don't burn down your local bagel shop. Empower your dreams.
And you'll see